Only Waterfall and Agile is not enough for you to be a successful project manager. My name is Guilherme and I'm a project management specialist. I help professionals to become successful project managers. Before I start the content today is part of the warm-up for the Project Management Summit. Project Management Summit, it's a free event I'm going to make to show you how to sharpen or how to develop, how to enhance your project management skills. This event is created thinking about people that are starting, maybe are working with project management for a few years, or people that want to start with project management. If that's your case, you just can click in the link here and subscribe. Everything is free. We are going to talk about 4 sessions only, talk about project management during a week where you have the chance to ask as much questions as you want. So don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you like this video here, make sure you click in the button, like it, share with other people, ask your questions, give me feedback. That helps me to keep going and creating more content to help you with project management. So the content for today, that's one that I have been thinking a while, and I decided to do this content based on some exchanges I had with different people. Well, when you talk about project management, of course, people think straightforward. Waterfall, PMBOK, Agile, Scrum. And in reality, you're not wrong. Those are the project management frameworks or approaches, institutions, certifications, which is a good thing that you know that. However, if you really want to be successful with project management, that's not the only thing that you need to know there. And why I mentioned to you that I had this idea after a few exchanges. Well, I talk with a lot of people on my Instagram, people that are asking questions and so on. And there's something that I've seen happening quite often, that sometimes I start to talk about project management, I start to ask questions because, of course, if you want a good advice, at least I need to understand something about you. And I've seen quite often people that have no experience with project management telling me that, but that I already know. First, I think you need to make a very clear distinction here. Doing a training, it's something good for you, of course. If you do it right, hopefully you learn something. But reflecting this knowledge into reality is something different. Let me put in a different way. Well, you can do all types of training about swimming, but until you really enter the pool, you cannot say that you know how to swim just because you read a book and you did a training. It's exactly the same idea with project management. I've seen people saying, yeah, but I already know Scrum, I already know Waterfall. But if you've never worked in a project, first of all, how can you say that you already know project management? Sorry to say, but I have been working with project management for more than 13 years. I have done more than 200 hours on different types of training, from Waterfall, Scrum, leadership, and I have been doing that every day. And even when I reflect to myself, I say, okay, there are still things that I need to learn and I need to improve. And I see someone that did a training or whatever in Coursera or Agile project management, never worked in anything, and they tell me that they know everything about project management. So for those people, I think they're in a different learning stage, which I'm going to come back there, what I mean by learning stages, but you are in a learning stage that you really, even you don't know what you don't know. So that's the first step that you need to realize it. And this is not only project management, but that can be word for almost anything that you do in your life. You don't say that you know how to swim just because you read a book. You need to go to the pool, and I'm not sure if you ever swum in your life, but that's not going to be exactly how you read in a book. And if you want to be a good swimmer, you need to do this over and over, practicing Usually, good if you have a coach, then you get feedback, you improve your movement, and you're getting better. You work in different types of style, and until you get there. And this is exactly the same idea with project management. Then step number one, you need to identify where you are in your learning stage. Let me just give you a brief insight here about the learning stage. What do I mean by that? And this is, of course, I was not the one creating this, but in general, say that people that they have 5 stages of learning. One that's called the unconscious incompetency, means that you really don't know what you don't know. Like these people that they think they, because they've seen a piece of that, they know everything. It's a kind of also teenager behavior. And of course, I was also like that when I was a teenager. When I was 15, I thought, okay, I know everything. But then life starts to move on and say, yeah, I don't think I know everything. And then you go for a more conscious incompetence, that you realize that I know that I don't know. That's a very good step, because once you give this step, you can start to learn. And this is when you also decide to start to learn. Then the next step in the learning stage is you go for the conscious competence, meaning that you know how to do it, but you have really to focus in the text to get it done. Meaning, like if you are learning how to swim, you really need to focus in your movement in the water to make sure you can do it right. At some point, you go for the unconscious competence that you can do easily, and you stop thinking about that. If you are swimming, your body just go it because you have your muscle memory. And at some point, you get the conscious unconscious competence. That means that you are in a highest level so high that you understand that, and you even can explain and teach for other people. But why I'm mentioning that as part of this, because if you are in this first stage of project management, you need to realize it, that one project management training will not teach you everything about project management. Even if you do a training for 30-hour training, if you have a master in project management, if you have an MBA in project management, you are not going to learn everything about project management there. Because even sometimes they can present you all the content, but because you've never used it, you start to forget. So this is a very important item. And then, but if you get to a more advanced level, say now I know what I don't know, then I start to learn it. But then you say I want to see that as a project manager, and in the end, it ends up that only Waterfall and Agile or Scrum or even Kanban, they're not enough for you to be a successful project manager. And the fact is, of course, you need to understand Waterfall and you need to understand Agile. And I really mean both, because I've seen people also saying that, no, I know Scrum, and they do not know anything about Waterfall. But that's the problem. If you study the Scrum guide, the Scrum framework, it's a very good framework. It's an incomplete framework and everything else, and it can add a lot of value depending on the situation where you're working on, and if you are using this properly. But the problem is, if you only study Scrum and you've never seen project management as a whole, you miss a lot of things, because you're going to see in the Scrum guiding, there's not mentioning about the iron triangle, there's not mentioning about a lot how to manage risks, how to classify risks. And I'm not saying that you should try to implement everything that you see in a waterfall framework. I'm not saying that you should look back for the project management body of knowledge of 6th edition and try to implement all those processes inside of framework. I'm just saying that first, if you understand waterfall, that gives you a full overview about how a project should go, about the processes, the steps, the inputs, tools, and so on. And of course, this full overview gives you a helicopter view, or a strategic view about the project. And then you can just say, now I'm going to use Scrum to take value because it fits better in that situation. That's something. I also see other people in the other direction saying that I'm working with construction, I just use Waterfall, I don't need to know Agile. So you miss a lot of the benefits of agile. You miss a lot of the philosophy of agile, because this philosophy in the end is the philosophy that you need to have a high performing team, and is going that in that direction. That the PM Box 7 edition, it completely changed. It does not mean that the PM Box 6th edition is not valid anymore, but it completely changed it to be a principle based project management book or framework or knowledge that they are trying to share there, that fits all the different kind of approach. But then when you are looking for principles and you are focusing a lot on leadership, how to develop your team, and all those things they have there, it helps you to understand how you the value that you have in agile, the value that you have on using Scrum, and how you can at least adapt to try to take part of this value and implement in your reality. So here you have people that don't know anything, then you have people that know either agile or either waterfall, and then you have people that say, okay, now you know both, which is already a good step, but again, that's not enough, because knowing the frameworks, then you are really the starting position. It's like going back to the swimming example. If you know the different frameworks, it's like you know the different four swimming styles there. Does not mean that you does mean that you know how to swim, but does not mean that you are going to go to a golden for the Olympics there. Then you need more. So if you want to be a successful project manager, you need to work on several items, which can include, or which in my perspective here includes your mindset. By mindset, I mean is how you're approaching things, your emotional intelligence, how you plan your career, how you see yourself, and how you look for develop yourself to have a growth mindset, and so on. Of course, you need to know the frameworks, but you also need to know finance, otherwise you cannot manage a business case, and business case is probably one of the most common tools in any company to measure value. And the goal, ultimate goal of any project is delivering value. So you know those things, but the next important step here is you know and you understand how to apply these on practice. Because I've never seen a project failing because the project manager, he didn't know, at least in theory, what's a critical path. Because very commonly, if you're a project manager, understanding what's a critical path, you have a basic training, at least you can grasp the concept there. But understanding how to translate these concepts to your reality, that's something that can be quite different. And I'm going to give you a few examples. I believe a couple of months ago, I was working with a company in Belgium. They had a problem in one of the projects, and they called me to help guide their project manager there to, to put the project on track. What happened is the project management maturity in this company, it was, or likely still is, very low. What does it mean? Then I start to ask questions and then say, okay, do you have a WBS? And they presented to me a WBS. If you do not know, a WBS stands for Work Breakdown Structure. Basically, their WBS had 5 items. One level, 5 items. And for example, one of those items was tooling, because it was an aviation company. Tooling, the other item was the procedure, the other items was the legal documentation that they have to do for the aviation, the other items was the how to assemble and store the equipment they would get, and so on. The problem is those items, they were so big, these 5 levels, they're not manageable, because inside of item like equipment or tooling, it was one item WBS, but when I asked, okay, are you buying only one tool? They said, no, they were buying 140 different tools. So no one ever thought that breaking down these, and I'm talking about people here. In this case, I was mentoring there a junior project manager, but this junior project manager had someone that should be the senior project manager in the company that did not have the knowledge. He had like a area manager or research or department manager there trying to support, trying to identify how to tackle this project, but they would not know how to organize it. And of course, the thing is, they had some basic knowledge or at least theoretical knowledge on project management, but they did not understand how to translate this knowledge to their reality. And that means that they got to a level, at least the department manager, that's why they called me, that they understand that they don't know, and they are trying to make a conscientious effort to apply those things, but they did not know how to apply those things. So even if I come to a person like that and I tell him, okay, waterfall, in a level, he probably knows what's waterfall because I know that he also had training about project management in the past. And he also, if I ask about agile, he probably has an idea about that because right now agile is a trend and everyone wants to be agile, even though most of companies they don't have enough clue what agile means, what's the agile manifest, what's the philosophy about it, what are the principles around it. So this can be quite important and quite different there. And so understanding how to translate this into practice is quite important. And this thinking again, making a different analogy, it's like if you're playing, like you're trying to play piano. If you say, "Oh, I can read the partitures," I hope that's I hope that's the right English word there. If you know how to read the music on paper, that's something that's quite good. But playing it, it's a very different step. So if you understand waterfall and agile, the concepts and the foundation, that's a quite good. But it's like the music. Playing it, it's quite different. Because then you get translating all those concepts to reality, but then you get another level of complexity that's how you're going to deal with your team, how you're going to lead your team, how you are going to work to be a better team member. Then you need to manage your stakeholders. Then you might have a customer that's pushing you. You might have a different stakeholders that are pushing you on something challenging. So there's a series of things that you need to develop from decision making, prioritization, change management, intelligent emotional intelligence, learning how to say no, because as a project manager is something very important that you understand how to say no, how sometimes you tell people, nope, stop, that's enough, I cannot do that, or yes, I cannot, and because of, and you explain. So understanding all those different aspects about project management is what's going to make you to be a successful project manager. And that's when I see again people telling me that they did a training and they know project management, even though they've never worked on that. And say you're telling me that you know how to swim just because you've seen a movie of someone swimming. That's very strange. So your first step is entering the pool, but to be a very good swimmer, you need to practice. And this practice needs also to have guidance, feedback, because to be a good swimmer, as to be a good project manager, you are not going to say, I know to swim one type. You need to understand more items around it. And if you cannot do that as a project manager, you're going to struggle. Another case here I've seen in the past with a colleague of mine that we worked together in a company long time ago. I was a project manager. He also was a project manager. And he understood the concept of project management, of course. So he understood what's a critical path and general view about how a project works. So he understood the frameworks, but then he already, as I mentioned, he started to have challenges that he was a blind spot about the finance part, but also he did not understand how to engage with his team, how to get the best of his team, and how to differentiate what people were telling him from what they were doing. And at some point, those those are skills that you need to train, that you need to develop, that you need to sharpen. Then you need to train your mind to go to this direction. For example, I'm working in another mentoring for with operation managers for a small factory, and basically, of course, I've given him some training, some foundation training, and what I'm doing this mentoring is teaching her how to build this critical knowledge on what needs to be done, how to define a clear goal, how to build this critical knowledge, how to execute there, how you can keep having this mindset for 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 continuous improvement. So like we had a session yesterday, and one of the things that even though that was basically our second session after the first foundational knowledge that I gave to her, and I saw her struggling with some items like how to properly define some key performance indicators, how to measure them, and where you start to tackle, because in the end you the same thing as you are executing a project. You have a world of things that you need to do, and you have several options, and you do not understand how where you decide to focus your attention there first. And of course, what's how the mentoring process works? Because for me, it was much easier. You say, okay, prepare a spreadsheet, just follow that, and go ahead and do it. That's how a lot of consulting works out there. But this is not sustainable. Why? Because first, she would not like it to just do something without understanding it, and the chance that will really create something in the long term for her, for the company, they're very small. Because if you do not understand, the chance that she's going to continue to do that and the chance that she's going to continue to improve that, they're very low. So how the process basically needs to work? Well, I'm working with her, asking questions to develop her critical thought, her critical thinking, her analytical skills, problem solving skills, up to a level that she can get uh, to a level that she can keep going by herself. So what I'm trying to do here, if I go back to the stages of learning, she has the willing to learn. I'm already sharing some information with her, but she's transferring from the stage number 2 for the stage number 3, where she requires a lot of attention. And of course, as a mentor, I'm always making the connection back, say, hey, pay attention to this. This is less important. Then she can share a bit her challenges. I can give some guidance, and that's what's important. But that's also how it works with project management. You're not going to get from a level 0 saying, I do not know anything, do a training, and you go for a company and you say, now I'm the best project manager that you have in your company. There's a process there that you need to sharpen your way of thinking, sharpen your analytical skills, thinking how you can further develop some items. Only with that you're going to develop. And I can tell you, knowing the frameworks, it's important, it's essential. And of course, if you do not know even what's a critical path, then your analytical thinking goes through the window, because you cannot even use the basic tools that you have in project management. But those tools here, they are just a piece of it. They are the foundation that and that you need to understand how to use it. Then you need to have this foundation. But doing that in practice is quite different. And usually in life, I'm not sure what's your experience there on the other side. A lot of things that you can think is you think, oh, I can do it that easily and faster. They are not so easy and so fast. Just to put another analogy, that's something that happened with me a few years ago when I moved to the house I'm living right now. I had to install floor in the house. And I was kind of a rush and I decided, okay, I think I can do it myself. I've never done that in my life. I had looked for some videos online and said, okay, it's very straightforward, not rocket science. I think I can do it. I think, yeah, for the size of the house, I asked a few people, I think I can do it in 2 days. And I decided to do it. And after 1 day of work, I worked my ass off installing the floor, and I could do this in 10% of the house. Only one bedroom. And I realized at first I will not be ready in the deadline that I need to move. And the second, I'm going to I'm going to be completely exhausted to do that. Then of course I end up figuring out that was a mistake. I hired someone to do it for me and ending up spending much more money because if I would have hired someone with a good offer that I had in the beginning, I would have saved myself of 1 year of very hard work, and of course I would have done it this faster. But the lesson is, well, I could do it. Yes, a professional took another 3 days with experience, better tools, and to do it. And took me 1 day to do 10% of basically this guy did the rest of the house in 3 days. So that shows to you the difference of thinking that you can do it, start doing it, and to get to a level that you can perform in the productivity, efficiency, and speed that you want, and that's quite different. So knowing the frameworks, knowing the tools, it's important. But first, they're not the only things. Remember that what I mentioned about finance, good that you start to think about developing the right mindset, emotional intelligence, this kind of stuff. But developing the 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 pattern thoughts there, the way you thinking to solve a problem, developing analytical skills, that's not something that will come like that. And like in my example with the floor, you can try to do everything by yourself, but it can take much longer. In my case, in that speed would have taken me to install the floor 10 days, and this guy did in 3. It works kind of exactly with the same way with project management. Why I'm saying that? Well, if you do a training and if you start work, then it's a great possibility that you can progress there. But if you want to really sharpen your skills and accelerate your development, and one of the ways to do that and to go really fast to doing that is finding a mentoring, a coach, someone that can guide you in this process. And this usually takes some time. You do not build something that fast to come natural and to come to the point that you do not even need to think about it anymore. That you go from stage number 3 where you need to focus for the stage number 4 that you can just execute it without thinking. That needs practice, that needs guidance. Why guidance? Because when I talk about mindset, I mentioned growth mindset. Well, one of the very important things to have a growth mindset are first of all feedback, and second, understanding how can you do things faster. Because in the case that I mentioned about the mentoring I'm going on with the operations manager there, one of the things that we discussed in the previous session like 1 month ago was to create good key performance indicators where she could track the performance and the improvements that she was trying to implement there. but she was kind of confused with the different key performance indicators. And she come up with one or two there that not they were not bad, but they would not tackle her critical problem there. And in the discussion, when I start to ask those questions to her, she was like, "Yes, you are right." And I say, "Good that you come up with this KPI." And I'm not saying that you should not have this KPI among others, but only these that will not bring you where you want to be. And the fact that I've gone through a lot of those processes, that gives me a very good advantage to tell her what works and what does not work. And that's basically how a mentor is. It's like if you're wanting, I mentioned this already of times, if you want to climb Mount Everest, you're not going to try to climb Mount Everest because someone read a book about it. You want to be with someone that was in the top already there. Why? Because you might die in the process. So think about your career as serious as if you are trying to climb a mountain there. You can do this fast. And again, only waterfall and only agile, they're not enough. This training process that I mentioned to train your way of thinking, this is much more important to get you to a level that you have the stage number 4, that you can do things without even thinking anymore. You can start to execute a project without even thinking anymore. Like I don't need to think about it, what I need to start a project anymore. And there's a lot of things that you can do to help yourself in this journey. And of course, there are some things that I also mentioned in the own training I have in other mentoring sessions that I do. But I'm trying to share with you here to make sure that you open your mind. Because study it's important, but moving and practicing your way of thinking, your way of working, that's really important to make sure that you can achieve a high performance as a project manager there. I hope you like this content. This is more a fundamental concept that you, or a fundamental way of thinking that I want to share with you, to avoid that you fall into the trap that you think, now I know everything, and you think you are already a senior project manager just because you've done a training, agile project, or a Google project management training. Keep in mind that, because this blocks your development. If you put that in yourself, in your mind, you are not helping yourself to progress. You are just creating another barrier, because then you are in the level stage 0, or that you think, or stage number 1, that you say you don't know what you don't know. And that's where you don't want to be. You can have gaps that you need to understand, you need to develop, but you need to understand what are those gaps. Otherwise, you cannot work on them, and otherwise, it will be difficult to progress into your career. Make sure you like this video and share with other people that you think needs to hear that and needs to start to keep developing themselves to be project managers, successful project managers. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. Make sure you follow my profile here, my channel here on YouTube, to learn more about project management, to get more content. I share every week, I share new content. But also make sure you follow my Instagram. There I share daily contents where you can read it. I also have a Q&A box where you can ask all types of questions that you want. And don't forget to subscribe for the Project Management Summit. It's an event. It's going to be 1 week, 4 different sessions with a lot of different content to cover how to sharpen your project management skills, how to enhance your project management skills, how to help you in this way of thinking to be a successful project manager. This event is free, so make sure you do not miss it. Thank you very much, and see you soon.